Good morning, everyone. My name is Shi Xin, and this is Gavin. Today, our topic will be representing this Italian Neorealism. So today we'll be covering three things, and part 1, 2, and 3. The first part will be guided by me on French New Cinema. Second will be guided by him, the Neorealism. And part 3 will be on how modern realism took place. So, first off, French New Wave cinema. It originated from an artistic philosophy of auteur theory. It's a concept that acknowledges its product of the director's absolute imaginative and inspired aesthetic vision. There are a few people that I want to talk about today with this. First off, the director, Federico Fellini. When he describes neorealism, the influence in French New Wave is and observing any kind of reality with an honest eye. As we've seen with most of our movies, the movies in neorealism like Italy, The Bicycle Thieves, like Rome. It gives a semi-documentary touch, meaning it's something like what you will see in Animal Canon, National Geographic, but it's all scripted. It's not exactly filmed in a way that's all really natural. However, what's interesting is that the French New Wave movement actually began the same way as Italian Neorealism, which is through the Film Journalist magazine. Critics from Cahiers du Cinema magazine were then inspired by Italian Neorealism. Although funny enough, beforehand during the World War, right, both Italy and French actually hated each other. But funny enough, when it comes to the film, they love one another. Next, we're going to talk about Francis Truffaut, one of the critics of Cahiers du Cinema. He's one of the important figures in the French New Wave movement. He's taken a lot of inspiration in the Neorealism and decided to explore his ideas in the cultural problems which reflected in post-1950s France. One of it is the movie The 400 Blows, as you can see there by one of the main characters, and Donner. It was considered a reflection of his childhood during the 1950s Paris. But you can not say it's exaggerated, but it definitely has a lot of interesting things you will see. The 400 Blows explores the underlying ideas of post-war French society and its effects on the younger generation. The modus operandi is the clash between new and modern and new France. New and older France. In this case, as you can see, one of the scenes, the whole entire movie is basically about this main character, the young boy. And majority of the conflict is all entitled to the young children, so I say the younger generation. I mean, heck, the rules at that time in Paris were so strict that even children, let's say they were just running on the street doing naughty things, right? Basically, the parents are working, they don't have time to look after their children, were caught by police. There was even a scene where 3 young girls below the age of 10, who knows, were then captured and they were caged in the detention home. This is what neorealist films aspire from the tragedy of life during First World War. Right, next. Now that one of Mrs. boyfriends here, Angela Bazin, disappears. What he feels that neorealism is, he argued that it was pretty much like a montage cinema, which was both educating or rather manipulating your viewer into a particular point of view. Bear in mind, after all of the films are still scripted. They are not exactly filmed in real life, real time. He also stated here that it's an aesthetic of reality, without imprisoning the viewer. I mean, after all, it's pretty much like how we feel, like how we think reality works. We do watch like The Bicycle Thieves, right? We felt like we were there, but the only thing we can do is sympathize and empathize with the character. We can't exactly help the character, but it made us feel like we were there, feeling the pain. And it's like, how is the world so cruel, right? And although, despite the fact that a lot of views has argued over generations basically on regarding montage cinema manipulating the viewer, in the end, neorealists in the 1940s have been more praised and admired than frowned upon.
Okay.
All right. Now, my dear friend Gavin shall now present the roots of neorealism.
Right. Okay, fine. Next. Okay, thanks. About neorealism. Neorealism in Italy is a style of film characterized by stories set amongst the poor and working class. Basically, it's post-war Italy, and everybody is trying, and society in Italy at the time was struggling to make ends meet, and it's highlighting the economical crisis faced by society at the end of the Second World War. Italy, Germany, and Japan, the three Axis powers, 6 years, and it's a time of turbulence and tribulation for the people living at that era, especially in countries like Germany, Italy, and Japan. Poverty and desperation are often the main themes of the films from the era, which means that in contrast, most of these films are given a rather bleak setting, and it's like so sad, solemn, and it's not so not uplifting. And it's often a trend of filming in Italian cinema post the Second World War. Thanks. Right. So when it comes to this it's the idea of neorealism came into play during the Second World War. After all, it's like I said, as mentioned before, the three Axis powers: Germany, Italy, and Japan, and at first the three of them are being the big bullies, but in the end, Russia and America came and wiped the floor with the two of them.
As you guys can see, Benito Mussolini, and now Hitler, the cute puppy in the middle, and our little Hideki Kojo there.
Yeah. Where it began, like I said, and of course, as I mentioned earlier, post-World War II, Italy was in decline and the people were suffering in poverty. And it's after all in the wake of Benito Mussolini, who was overthrown in 1945. Italian filmmakers, as a response to the chaos and turmoil and the horrific conditions of the war that has left the country in ruins, began to focus their films on the everyday struggles on the lower class citizens like us. And directors such as Roberto Rossellini and Vittorio De Sica shot their films on low budgets with unknown non-professional actors, and instead of studios, they often took to the streets of Italy to film. And there are two reasons why this kind of motive is actually done. One is because it's synonymous with the theme. They want to shoot something that's in conjunction with the war. It's post-war, everything is so bleak, and it's often something that sets well in conjunction with the something like it's basically a main theme that is driving the Italian filmmaking. And two is because the non-professional actors are very easy to obtain. It's not a professional actor, so because it's non-professional, it allows for more realism on the acting. Next. Characteristics of neorealistic films. It's a new democratic spirit with emphasis on the value of ordinary people, like in The Family of Bicycle Children. It's a compassionate point of view, and as well as a compassionate point of view, and a refusal to make facile judgments, which is like easy moral judgments and this. Yeah. It's a preoccupation with Italy's fascist past and its aftermath of wartime devastation, as I mentioned earlier, in the wake of Benito Mussolini's being deposed and such. And majority of the work is done outside of the studio. Though ironically, even though it's done outside of the studio and the streets in Italy post-war provided ample filming material, it's actually more expensive because the lighting, the timing, and the scenario, everything has to be on sync with the filmmaker and director's demands. Thanks. Famous pioneers of this movement are Vittorio De Sica, Luchino Visconti, and Roberto Rossellini. Unfortunately, they have passed on, so God rest their souls. Next.
You didn't know, I just point to who is who also. You remember who is it?
Yep, Vittorio De Sica, Luchino Visconti, and Roberto Rossellini on the left.
Good.
Next. Open City is one such a film directed by Roberto Rossellini. It's filmed in the time after the Nazi occupation of Italy, and the movie was started in 1945. The setting took place a year before, which is 1944, and Rossellini shot mostly outdoors amidst the destruction of the war to attempt to portray the most realistic story possible. The story highlights the attempts of the German SS in arresting resistance leader Giorgio Manfredi. And as mentioned earlier, rather than using professional actors, the actors who played the characters in Open City were non-professional at the time of filming. This is the main drive behind this motive was that most of the non-professional actors at the time undergone Nazi oppression 1 year before, and this allowed for more realism to take place in the film. Next.
Can I take over the second part of this section?
But of course.
Okay, there's a 3 scenes that I took from the Real Open City, which I find were really interesting at the time because the Neorealism film, they were trying to make it as realistic as possible, right? So here you can see that there's also a time when both the wife, basically the wife of basically one of the main characters, and also a priest, they had to go back home by 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock is the curfew. That was how oppressed and how strict it was. And I was surprised that actually, this small little detail, but yet it undermines the fact that they are not allowed to be out by 5, because anyone who's out by 5, children, women are all shot. They don't care. That's why normally when parents are yelling at their kids to get back into the house, just trying to tell, because a lot of the kids were, they are very diplomatic. They want to go out, they want to fight against the Germans. Their patriotic views is there, but the parents know very well they cannot fight. So that's why they wish for their own safety. Another one here is this so. Woman's the hero too. Funny enough, one of the young boy characters, he said, women cause nothing but trouble, And he said, actually he's trying to say that, women is better stay at home, we want them to be safe, and also they cause a lot of trouble. That is what I got out of it when I first saw this. The woman stays at home and takes care of the young, just like here, takes care of the younger sibling. The last one here was execution of the priest. The priest was the one who took care of all these young boys, teaching, giving them education, but in the end, right, because of the betrayal and all those, trying to find their leader, all these kids had to see him being shot to death. They actually shot him twice. First, when he was being tied down to the seat, they shot him, get ready, aim, pa. You've seen those kind of execution before, right? He was still alive on the first shot. They say, alright, everyone, one more. They actually shot him twice again, pom. No. They want to make it finalized, they take out the handgun, pam, his head entirely. And the scene ends with pretty much all of the boys, right, just holding on to each other, walking down the alley. Sad, isn't it? Alright, back to you. Thank you.
The Neorealism traits are as follows. Neorealist directors wanted to show what was going on in the streets and the piazzas of Italy immediately after the war, as the movie The Bicycle Thieves can attest, which is set in a post-war setting. And the Neorealist movement heavily relied on non-professional actors and as aforementioned earlier. But later on, many of these films are accepted and that eventually got accepted into the Neorealist side, relied largely on the excellent performances of seasoned professional actors. And as aforementioned, this movement was set in the preoccupation with Italy's fascist past and the aftermath of wartime devastation, because Italy was annexed during the war. Filmmakers capitalized on a free society because Mussolini was overthrown in 1945, as 28 April is the date of his death. Because after all, and because that time Mussolini was a fascist, one of the fascist dictators, and of course, if anything that is against a dictator's whim is punishable by death, and such films often documented on the Italian society's rebirth. Next. How does it differ from post-war Hollywood, you ask? Okay, for Italian Neorealism, as mentioned earlier, the local populace made up the bulk of the acting personnel, as filming resources back then were often minimal. It's very hard to come by, and almost everything is improvised on the fly, which means there's no planned scripting, no nothing. Everything you have to rely on the shot of the scene itself, and they usually improvise in between. And films at the time often focus on the daily lives of the Italian people post-war. And lastly, it's often made during a low point of Italy's socio-economic times. Hollywood, on the other hand, is much more jubilant because Hollywood was at its zenith after the war because America was one of the triumphant Allied powers. Yay, we won the war, let's party! For example, that's for one. Cinema patrons of the era during Hollywood times visited the cinemas on almost a daily basis because, you know, in the post-war, you're the winner. You have basically, it's like, let the good times roll. And of course, their focus on film became more uplifting as a break from the war because during the World War II, Hollywood was one of the means of propaganda to inculcate patriotism and a desire for the citizens to fight for the country. And this became more prominent in the wake of the Pearl Harbor bombing on December 7, 1941. Hollywood, and last but not least, Hollywood had actors that were formerly servicemen in the army. And one of these actors eventually became a protest, which is Reagan. Next. Right, now without further ado, I shall pass it to Shi Xin. Thank you.
May I please have my notes back?
Sure.
Alright then. Gavin, could you please pass me my slide?
Sure.
Right. You see Neorealism in modern cinema. One of its influences, the pursuit of happiness. I actually watched this really hard. It's directed by Gavin Ng Kok. He actually shares similar storylines and the Neorealism characteristic. Though the directors of Neorealist films in the past tend to stick with the negativity and express morality depictions, the pursuit of happiness, however, didn't. Though I'll have to be honest, if you watch Bicycle Thief and you watch this, you will see so many references, and I was literally shocked by how many references they took it in. It was not very copycat, but although they also, the only difference is that they have two scenes, right? From like, you know, the bicycle being stolen, his possession was stolen twice. But he got it back in the end. Very lucky. Alright, the similarities. As you can see, they are all co-starring by a father and a son in this cast. Although at first he did have a mom, but the mom in the end left them because he wasn't earning any money. So, you know, basically she wanted a better life, so she left. She wanted to take Christopher along as well, but Chris Garner here, he is so fixated on making sure that his son will have his father, meaning will live together, because it's actually based on the trauma in his past. Chris Garner grew up without a father, so he wanted to make sure that his only child has to grow up with a dad. No, I don't know about no mama. No question there. Actually, that another one that I dropped. Yeah, in for some shit. Yeah, that's how it is. So you can see the desperation in both of their faces here. I mean, can you imagine? He lost his possession. One item like that could give them a whole month's of groceries. Same goes as him. His only difference at Richie, his bicycle is literally his whole life savings is gone. Next, the tough reality here causes Richie or Chris to act rudely and scold their sons. Yes, this is another part that I spotted that, wow, I'm amazed they even got this one right as well. Yeah, Chris Garner is not bad or anything. He's a great father, seriously. But then there are times where he literally tells his son to shut up, and they said, just like, listen to me, and Paul dragged his hand because they needed to catch the bus. Since they are homeless, they need to go to this particular room, a shelter where it closes when there's overbooked people. Like, all homeless people are still crowding. There could be more than 100 people left there, and yet they would say, sorry guys, sorry, we're out of rooms. So basically, they'll have no place to stay, they'll have to stay in the cave, which is also the bathroom. Yes, they stay in the bathroom before they call it a cave.
Next.
And finally, the scene difference would be precisely the ending. Since basically the nondescript ending from the bicycle piece, right, they pretty much just show us like, them walking away. We don't know what happened to them, we don't know what's going to happen to them. But the pursuit of happiness did not follow that particular topic. They wanted, I guess it is the more the kind of mentality where they say, when you work hard, you pursue, you will get success in the end, which what happened here is happiness. Chris Garner actually did get a job as a stockbroker in the end. He was able to beat all of the others through what? He had to work so hard, he had to get, he actually tried, he basically had to go homeless for several days be no food. Well, first it's best to keep the sun up. Alright, that's all on our modern cinema. For now, you guys, I'm going to give you guys watch 2 trailers, right? It's not a neorealist film, but it's pretty much what Hollywood, right, creates World War II films these days. One is talking about the European World War II, their interpretation. Another one is about the Nazi Germany. Dunkirk, and you guys tell me, like, how much has the film changed since then?
Sounds alright. Okay, yes.
The enemy tanks have stopped. Why? Why waste precious tanks when they can pick us off from the air like fish in a barrel? There are 400,000 men on this beach.
Where are we going? Dunkirk. Look at back. There's no hiding from this sun. We have a job to do. If we go there, we'll die.
You see it from here. What? Home.
Showcase the next one.
Roger.
The next one is a very interesting name. H. Nazi Germany.
Our country has become so weak.
Yes, it's not going to change anytime soon.
Don't be so sure. There's one man who could change everything. See that man in the picture? That's our leader. He'll be able to save our country.
I'm looking for someone to run the new SS intelligence unit.
Intelligence requires organization and industry.
No one will work harder than me, and no one will be more organized. Power needs men in the shadows, taking care of the most important secrets.
Only the best of our people are capable of turning our nation to greatness.
You know what the Führer calls him? The man with the iron heart.
This is not just any old mission, understand me?
Not one high-ranking Nazi official has ever been assassinated. I want to know every move he makes. At least must die.
We stand at a unique moment in history. All hostiles to the nation will be eliminated.
You're only putting your own lives in danger for the lives of everyone.
All resistance organizations will be destroyed without mercy.
And this is a suicide mission. I'm sure it will feel.
This is about our future.
Fire!
They're coming.
Sorry about the subtitles, actually they're very French. our current Hollywood cinema. A lot has changed, right? Go on. You guys like no opinions on it, or you guys like, wow, guns!
I think this one, right, all the Hollywood films, it's definitely a lot more flashy and a lot more, in a way, it's more
Dramatic.
effects driven than the Italian neorealist films. They shouldn't.
Why do you think that is? I mean, you're telling yourself because you do realize that these are all catered to us, or rather, because we people are the one paying for this kind of thing, kind of Hollywood films, right? Why do you think they're creating more of these kinds of things? Kinds of films?
Like effects driven. It brings more people into the cinema. I mean, no one wants to watch people dressed poorly, unknown actors on screen, no? I think that's one of the main reasons why Hollywood makes films like these.
Yes, but there is another underlying to what you're saying. Money. They need money. So why do they create this kind of thing? They need people to come in, they need money. By the end of everything, right, please create money. I know it's very petty, but that's how the film industry are these days, especially Hollywood. I mean, not just all the whitewashing nonsense of most anime adaptations and such. I mean, Death Note has a black guy playing as one of the white characters. I do not want to talk about that, sorry.
That's it?
Yep.
Well, there is no business like show business.
Alright, thank you for your undying attention.
Feedback.
Can I?